Hello, bass family, and welcome to Everything Bass. Hey, today we're moving on to the final in the things to do with scales. This is Unit 8. And at the very beginning, I said it was going to be a short series because I didn't want to overwhelm you with so many things to do with scales that it becomes unwieldy. And what I mean by that is, let's say you learn a new scale. Let's say for the first time ever you learn the Phrygian mode and you want to run it through my 8 units. If I had 20 units, even though each one probably would help you get the scale down more, that's a lot of lesson time, and that's a lot of, maybe it would dominate your practice time, and you would get weaker in other areas. So I think these 8 things, looking back at it, you could accomplish, once you get them all down, you can accomplish in 10 minutes probably with a new scale. And that, I don't think that's too crazy. But this one is a little different. This unit's a little different. In the previous units, I've actually shown you exactly what I want you to do and been very detailed. Now I'm going to show you a concept and one example. And what I mean by that is today we're covering 2-octave fingerings. In the very least, well, I don't know, maybe that's, so in the very least you should know how to play it in 1 octave. That's the truthful statement. But don't stop there, because there's so much music that needs to occur outside of the 1 octave pattern. And if you stop and you only know the scale in 1 octave, you're not likely to freely improvise and move around the neck like I think you would want to. But it's good. I don't want to make any kind of negative connotation to starting with the 1 octave pattern. That's your foothold. That gets you to hear the sound of the scale, know its construction, know what intervals in it. But at one point, it's natural evolution to go to 2 octaves. And I would say to my 5 and 6 string brothers and sisters, 7 string, more than, because again, on those extended range instruments, a 2-octave fingering is really still a small portion of the neck, so you may want to branch out. But for the sake of today's lesson, and guessing that a lot of you are 4-string players, we're going to do a 2-octave fingering. So I'm going to give one example. Before I do that, what makes a good 2-octave fingering and what makes a bad 2-octave fingering? And I'm using those terms lightly because, I mean, if you came up with what I would think maybe not a very useful 2-octave fingering, it's still 2-octave fingering. It's still going to show you a path. So I'm going to use today's example, this G, going up to the 12th fret G. And I use that because most basses, every bass I know of gets up there. Whereas if I was to do maybe a higher on the neck, some of the 19th fret bass players, wouldn't be able to play it. So this is a good example. Again, before I show you mine, let me show you some things. This is technically a 2-octave scale. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But when you have a lot on one string, at least group them into shifts. Like this is definitely what I don't think is useful. Using one finger to slide up. Why? Because that doesn't really promote you actually playing a little melody fragment in that part of the fingering. I've always been a fan of trying to divide the 2-octave fingering into zones that are easy to memorize, so when I transpose it to another key, I can move it around easily. But also by doing it and trying to get 5 or 6 notes in each hand position, now you can kind of explore that area musically. So as you're playing along, you can kind of play some notes. Whereas if you're playing and you're doing the one finger thing, it's just, I just think it's not a really good use of your time. So let me show you my example. With the huge kind of footnote, it's not the one way. You can come up with your own, and everyone's hands are different, your basses are different, so you can come up with your own. But if you want an example to start from, here's one for you. So I start basically by playing the first 5 notes of the G major scale like you learned them. So the root, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. So I start like that. Now, instead of going to the D string, I slide up still on the A string with my index finger on the E. Now remember, in the G major scale has 1 sharp, and that's F. Every other note's natural, and that helps you create your 2-octave fingering to think of the notes, the actual notes. You'll make better decisions. So here I'm E, so I got the E, F sharp, G, A, B, C. Now why I like this is because it's the first 6 notes of like Aeolian or a pure minor scale. So to kind of take it from there, I've got the first 5 notes of the major scale. Then I shift up to the E. Now if you want, like, I shouldn't say E, because as you transpose it, that would maybe be helpful. So you play 5 notes, you go 2 frets higher than the note your pinky's on, but go with your index finger, play whole step, half step, go right to the next string, don't shift or anything, play the same thing. So now we're almost there, because that's where our destination is, the 12th fret there. What I like to do is take this pinky, slide it up 2 frets from where it was. That's my D, E, F sharp, G, and I just basically finish the scale. So let me show you that in slow motion. Now, of course, practice them coming down. Cool. So try that one. Try it on. Let me know what you think about it. Tweak it. You know, maybe you don't want to slide up with 2 frets. Maybe you want to do this. So you play the whole natural minor scale, then slide up and just finish. I mean, so those are little tweaks you can do. Not wrong at all. Not wrong at all. I'm showing you a way to get you started if this is a new concept, but you can make up your own. In fact, I mean, I had some really great teachers at Musicians Institute when I was a student who would kind of always be challenging me to find another one, find another one, find another one. And I think it's great. When I was lucky enough to take private lessons from Stuart Ham, he showed me this one. So you can see his 2-octave fingering that he showed me. And again, he was very careful to let me know that it's just one that he likes. It's not the one. But that was different than the one I just showed you. So really grab onto this, like really hardcore, lean into it and really work on it. Because I think as you practice these up and down and up and down, and I mean, every instrument, piano players, I'll hear them constantly doing 2, 3-octave scale exercises. Same thing with all stringed instruments, trumpet, I mean, and the woodwinds and brass and stuff. You'll hear them practicing 2-octave fingerings and things like that. So, you know, it's not unique to our instrument. It's common to all musicians to be able to play outside the octave, be more expressive. And when people seek me out for private lessons, one of the things they're wanting is to be able to be more free in improvisation. The first thing I usually ask them is, have you been practicing 2-octave fingerings? And I think this time all of them have said no. And it makes sense then why they're not free to kind of roam the neck of the fingerboard, because over any given chord they don't really know where to play. And so this is a great exercise. I really want you to do this. And I may be bold. I'm kind of getting off a script here, but at this point, if you've practiced all 8 units of things to do with scales, and you want to boil it down to one thing to do with scales, if I had to rank them by importance, I would do this. Now, if I can be a little more bold beyond that, is once you have a good 2-octave fingering, go back to unit 1, do it with runs of 4. Unit 2, do the 2-octave fingering runs of 3. Do it in thirds. Do it in alternate directive thirds. All those things. Do all those things with 2-octave scales, and now your practicing's become powerful. You become really powerful, and your musicianship leaps ahead a crazy amount. Trust me on it, but I know I'm right, and I know you'll find if you do this, if you practice this, I think you're going to find you're going to be a much better player, and you're going to be where you want to be. You're going to be more expressive. The music you hear inside of you, you have a better chance of getting it out if you can work your scales in 2 octaves minimum. All right, now moving on to our encore item today, and it's another great one, man. How great is it that we're musicians, that we just love music, and that we have such, usually have such wide ears that we love all styles. And from a very, very early age, before I was a bass player, I knew about Earth, Wind, and Fire. And it was very big in my home community, and I started to get to know the songs. And I'm going to just select, because if you're not aware of Earth, Wind, and Fire, one great place to start is Greatest Hits. Earth, Wind, and Fire, Greatest Hits. It might be called Volume 1, but when I bought it, it was the only one. But I think now, looking to make sure it's still available, which of course it is, that was kind of silly, I believe I saw a Greatest Hits Volume 2. So anyway, just look for Greatest Hits, and look for the one that has songs like Shining Star, September, Sing a Song, Boogie Wonderland, Let's Groove. All these are amazing, amazing songs. Verdine is, if you listen to his music, that's who Verdine is, meaning he's joyful, he's passionate, he's supportive of bassists and musicians all around. He's just wonderful. I was blessed to be able to interview him when I was editor of Bass Frontiers magazine, and just yeah, he's just amazing. He also is one of those guys that broke ground on the way of playing this style of funk, and I just really, something as simple as Let's Groove. The bass line is very repetitive, but it's so powerful, and it's a great one. If you learn it, then play along with the recording, and it kind of helps you get used to playing with a band, especially if you have zero experience playing with a band. A good place to start is to play along with the recording. What I mean by that is it puts a little pressure. You just can't slow down, speed up. You got to stay up with the rest of the band. If you make a mistake, you have to play through the mistake. You don't stop and start the recording over because you can't have the band stop. So it's really good, kind of a gateway to getting to play with live musicians. And I think that most of us, it's what we do to get the confidence to go out and play with others, is we play along with recordings and we start feeling like, yeah, I got this down. Earth, Wind, Fire is a phenomenal way to start. You know, I was going to go in deep, but most of you guys know these songs. And if you don't, really check it out. Such an important part of our evolution of the bass is Verdine White. And this is a great one-stop shop for some amazing songs. Every song on this is huge. Yeah, anyway, so things to do with scales, Unit 8, the final things to do with scales. So if this is the first video you've seen, it just came up as a recommended video, I encourage you to go back and check it out. If you're looking for more exercises and more routines that you can put your scales through, this is a great collection that will definitely get your musicianship to the next step. And of course, check out Earth, Wind, and Fire, Greatest Hits. Great band, great band. Yeah, I really love it. Love to hear what you think, guys. I'm always pushing it into the comments section or to share on our Facebook group. I really want to hear what you guys have got going on. If you're new to the channel, it would mean so much to me if you hit the subscribe button below and the little bell icon so you're always notified when I upload videos. Also, hit the like button. It really helps that you guys put the old thumbs up there. It helps YouTube recognize me and gives me more opportunities with them. I also want to make a pitch that I think it's important if you're really serious about your studies. If you go to patreon.com/everythingbass, you can become a Backstage Pass subscribing member. It's a monthly subscription. At the time of recording, it's only $8 a month. That gives you access to all the printed materials that I have created for my sites. I think at this point we'll have about 80 videos up. You actually can go and there's most of the videos, I think all but 2 of them have something you can print off and put into a lesson binder. And I find that more conducive to like a really kind of getting a flow going in practice where you can just turn a page, remember what that exercise is and apply it instead of having to search online. I love that you guys stop on videos, but if you want to take it to the next level, I really would encourage you to become a Patreon supporter. That money really helps me grow the channel too, and I appreciate that so much. So that's it. Things to do with scale, Unit 8. We're in the series on I think a 2-octave high note. And check out Earth, Wind, and Fire Greatest Hits. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you at the next video.